All right, I finally finished the Bandai 1/20th scale Brutishdog. It's an armored Votom kit. And like any Bandai kit, went together like a dream. If you've built Gunpla, this goes together like a Gunpla. If I had to give it a percentage, it's maybe 3% off of Gunpla, the newer stuff. There's a few places where the fit is not absolutely perfect. But then again, there's some Gunpla that I built that haven't been that way either. So this is if you've built Gunpla, this is like a Gunpla. It's not a difficult build. It's generally a fun build, I think. And if you like building Gunpla, if you like building Bandai kind of kits like that, you're going to enjoy this. There were a few things that I didn't really like, but that's more indicative of how I feel about Gunpla in general, which is actually the subject of this blog. Now, for one, I am not a huge fan of articulation by any means. Yeah, it's cool, and I get why they put it in there, because most of the people, as I understand it, in the world who build Gunpla, the 12 million kits a year, most of those don't really get painted. They may get some Gundam markers to panel line them, a few stickers put on, and then you play with them. I get that. It's at its core a toy, and I get that. But from a modeling perspective, being able to articulate like this, especially like this, these armored Votoms, the way the pilots got in and out was the thing kind of just, its whole leg here, you can see how it is there. It just kind of bent down and sat down like that so the pilot could get in and out. And, being able to design a model so that it will articulate that way, so that the arms move, so that the hatch pops open, it introduces some compromise in terms of engineering as opposed to how it would be if it were a static model. If this were a static model, if it were, if it had a certain pose to it and it were a static model, there would be different engineering choices. And sometimes those engineering choices, I struggle with working with them because, people want to, I want to sell the Gunpla and models like this armored Votom. People want them to move. Well, when they move, paint scrapes. And when paint scrapes, people email me back and go, why did the paint scrape off? Well, when you scrape something against something else, paint's going to rub off. But I'm not a big fan of the articulation and the engineering realities that brings into it. For example, this top hatch, now I've glued it shut because I'm not painting the interior, but this top hatch is designed to be able to pop up just a little bit and then rotate up so you can see inside of it. Well, for that to happen, there has to be this huge gap right there to make that happen. And I don't think that's an assembly error, because I took this thing apart 2 or 3 times to make sure that everything was fitting just like it was supposed to. And what I could tell was, okay, that's just there to make that move. Now, yeah, I can deal with that. I can fix it. I'm not worried about that. But all of these moving parts mean there's going to be some compromise in how it all works. And then you got stuff like this. It just kind of, all these little armored things just flop around. Again, necessary if you're going to do this kind of articulation. But if you're trying to paint and weather this thing, it can be a little bit annoying to deal with. That's why I'm really seriously considering putting this in a fixed pose and then just gluing it together and just saying, okay, look, this is a static model. It is what it is. It's not going to move around. But there's another reason why I'm not building as many Gunpla. The other reason is this right here. This kit has, best I can tell, over 250 parts. And this is not the most party kit I've ever built from Bandai. Now again, I get why it's done that way. And I think if I wasn't having to shake hands with the reality of putting out 3 videos a week, I would be more tolerant of the high parts count. But I've got probably 12 to 14 hours of assembly in this thing, because you've got 250 parts. There's a few that aren't used, but easily over 200 parts. Every one of them has at least 3 to 4 nubs that have to be cleaned up. Almost every part has some mold part seam lines that you have to clean up. So, you can't just pull the parts off. If you're really wanting it to be if you're really wanting to take care of the little details, you can't just pull the parts off and snap it together. Every part's going to take at least a minute or more of cleanup, and there's going to be a little bit of test fitting and things like that. And then to top it off on this kit, and whoever came up with this at Bandai, I'd like to meet him out behind the woodshed. You see, you've got all these little bolts right here on the armored panels and on the side and on the back here and on this front armor. There's quite a few of them. Yeah, that's those. And you see all the ones that I had to use. Now, I had to use 46. I was worried I was going to have to use all 60 of them, but I'm glad there were spares, because I ended up having to tweezer bolt a few of them. Not having to, I accidentally did. But having to stick all of those little things in with my old arthritic fingers, that didn't, this one almost didn't happen. This one, I almost said, you know what, I know it'd be fun to weather and fun to paint, and I told everybody I'm going to do it, but I'm not doing this. But I finally just sat here. This is a Saturday. I just sat here and I gutted it out, got it done, and just said, to heck with it. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get this thing so I can get to the fun part, which is going to be the weathering. But this is why I haven't built as many Gunpla. The last time I built a Gunpla was this time last year, when I built that Grimoire Red Beret diagram that I did with the Osprey type propellers on it, and tried to make it look like a carrier display thing and all of that. Didn't turn out nearly as good as I had imagined it in my head. It just kind of fell flat for me. But that wasn't a difficult Gunpla, but it's still just so many parts. And I put them up on these clamps to paint them. I had 200 of these clamps. And for this kit, if I would have put it up on clamps to paint it before, putting all the parts together, I'd have needed more clamps. And I've had that happen. I remember when I first built the GM Sniper 2, I had 200 clamps, and I used every one of the clamps up, and I still had that was like the upper torso, with 200 clamps. Now this one, obviously I've assembled it, and I'm going to paint it a little different. I'm going to do a lot of brush painting on this. I'm going to treat it more like a machining career kit in terms of painting. And the other Gunpla that I'm going to do later this year, I'm planning on kind of showing, okay, here's a method that I've started using that I think makes it easier to deal with and not have to have 9 gazillion parts up on your clamps here. But anyway, as much as I love this kit and other Gunpla, this just, for me, just sucks the fun right out of it. And especially with my change in job situation, I don't have lunchtime anymore to work on model kits. That took away 5 hours a week that I could do it. And so having to try and find time here at home to do that now, it just means that things are even tighter in terms of time. So anyway, I'm looking forward to painting and weathering this kit, but it demonstrated to me why I've kind of backed away a little bit from Gunpla, because they just take a whole lot of chomping to get done. Even though they're fun, it's a high price for fun when you're trying to crank out videos. So anyway, look for this soon.